Officials say that many of those are fighting for their lives. CNN's Nick Robertson has been on the ground, has been following the latest there at the scene in Switzerland. Nick, what are officials saying about the effort to locate those who are missing?
Yeah, they're still trying to identify all the dead. There's still 6 people who are alive in hospital of those 119 that are hospitalized who remain unidentified. And that's the priority, the police say, for the families. We've seen a father of one of the missing today, literally on the ground here in the street, on his knees. Uncontrollable grief. His brother was at his side trying to help him. There were strangers quite literally trying to give him comfort on the street, but it was overwhelmed by grief. He's not alone. And when you listen to some of the witness testimonies of the ferocity of the fire, of course, these families now have heard those testimonies as well. And this all plays into their pain. This is how one man described the scene outside here last night in the aftermath of the fire.
You saw the young people who were totally burned in the face, who missed some fingers here laying on the streets. And the first aid was given to these people. And then you have to, what was the worst is the screaming of these young people, the screaming of pain.
Yeah, and that just gives you an idea of why it's so hard now for the authorities to identify everyone. The bank just over there opened its doors to for triage for medical rescue workers who are quickly on the scene. And my colleague, producer Jess Fetterman, was speaking with one of the doctors helping treat them. And the doctor was telling him, look, we were trying to make sure that everyone we were passing on that was being evacuated away, that we had their identification. But of course, it was so busy, so chaotic, that didn't happen in every case. And that's what provides for the pain and suffering of some of these families right now. European countries also stepping in here. About 50 of these severely burn injured victims have been taken to other European countries for treatment. We know as well as the 71 Swiss who are injured, 14 French, 11 Italian, 4 Serbian, a Bosnian, Bulgarian, Polish. It's touching so many countries here. So,
happening now, investigators are closing in on a possible cause of that deadly fire that raced through a Swiss ski resort bar on New Year's Day. In this new image, you can see sparklers held in champagne bottles very close to the ceiling, which is covered in acoustic tiles. The fire killed at least 40 people. More than 100 others were injured. Multiple people are still missing right now. Joining us now, the former Boston Police Commissioner, Ed Davis. Ed, thanks so much for joining us. When you see these videos from inside that bar and the sparklers coming out of the champagne bottles, the acoustic ceiling, what jumps out at you?
Well, it's really horrible to see this thing occurring again after we had the Station nightclub fire here in New England back in 2003. It's almost the exact same set of circumstances. The insulation on the ceiling and a fire source. You know, sprinklers look innocent, but sparklers look innocent, but they burn red hot. So when you see that kind of combination in a crowded venue, and there's so many people there, it really is frightening.
It's awful indeed. And you would think that they would have learned the lessons from what happened in Rhode Island and that horrible sprinkler-related fire then. What are some of the questions investigators are asking about the bar's capacity and the crowd size at that New Year's party?
Well, that will all be part of the inquiry. The first and most important part of it, obviously, is determining whether or not criminal intent or criminal issues occurred there. So they're going to do a criminal investigation to see if there's any violations of the law. But I think very quickly it will turn into a review of the fire codes and the codes for the number of people that are allowed in the premises, and then whether or not there can be significant changes to those rules and regulations to try to prevent this from happening again. When you're in the cellar of a building like that and there's only one egress, air is coming in and people are trying to get out, and that combination can cause a flashover, which resulted in all of these deaths. It's horrible.
Yo, Miss Fox, I don't know if
I'm
you
curious,
can hear me or not, but
what are the
yo.
similarities between this fire in Switzerland and the one at the Station nightclub in Rhode Island back in 2003? I remember that fire was awful. For those who aren't familiar with what happened in Rhode Island at that nightclub, 100 people died in that fire. And there were some similarities, right?
There certainly were. One of my staff members was the head investigator on that fire, and I just spoke to him. People were really piled up like cordwood at the front door. You couldn't pull the bodies out because of the lack of egress. The fire happened so quickly with that insulating material, the noise dampening material that they had in the ceiling, that people just could not get away, and most died from smoke inhalation. But the scene was just horrendous. That's exactly what we're seeing over in Switzerland, and it's disappointing that people aren't paying attention to these things and preventing them.
Families are desperate for answers this morning after a fire raged through a ski resort bar in Switzerland, killing at least 40 people during a New Year's party. I want to show you a disturbing new video that shows what appears to be the initial moment the fire started.
Trigger warning. If you are triggered by disasters or horrible scenes, you might not want to watch this.
So you see people are already swatting at the fire there. And then in another video, you can see the fire getting larger as panic begins to set in and people are trying to escape. And then in video shot from the outside, people can be heard screaming as a person stumbles out of the building. And before we show that to you again, it may be disturbing to see.
Oh la dinguerie! Oh gros, bouge, bouge, bouge.
I mean, you see how frantic it is. You hear the screaming. And this footage shows what a local security director called scenes of war, saying young people were suddenly forced to act as first responders.
All right. Yeah, it looks just like the repeat of the station. Same scenario. All right, there you go, folks. We just wanted to show some new footage coming out. Hopefully you can see me. Oh, I got a warning. Heads up, we detect video your streaming belongs to. They're not live. It's not live that I'm streaming. Excuse me. They're not live. Why would they say I'm streaming it when they're not live? It's just a video I'm showing. All right. There you go, folks. Be safe. God bless. Remember, keep an eye when you do go to these bars. Keep an eye on your exits. And some of these people might be charged with crimes from what they're saying. Yeah, it's different than the station fire somewhat. That the people in the crowds and everything, they didn't have anything to do with that. This situation is the same thing, fire hazard way as the station, and exactly what happened at the station happened here. But this was set by customers that were there. So there might be charges coming on some of these people, they're saying. And I don't blame them if they were that stupid to be. You would think the bar would have said, put them dang things out or get out of here. You can't have that inside the building, but they didn't. So there might be charges coming on some of these people. Hate to say it. All right, you folks have a great day. And I'll be back later. I want to thank Debbie for stopping in. And we'll be back later with more info as it comes out. But as you've seen, it similar, very similar to what happened at the station out there in Massachusetts or Pennsylvania, wherever it was. Have a good night.